This is such a virtuous film. It's just,
a nice
I loved
adjective.
it
I haven't heard that one before.
from
It's true.
start to finish. It's really just gorgeous. I wonder if you had the usual 10-year-old girl crush on horses.
I did.
Did you?
I absolutely did. I remember winning a contest at Bloomingdale's for my drawing was chosen to make a throw rug out of or something, and it was a horse because I was always drawing horses and Pegasus and my rocking horse when I was 2 years old. And
I don't know why that is.
I don't
What is
either.
it about horses that we're so...
Randy has our director, Randall, has a very quotable theory on it I'm not going to get it right, so I don't want to give it away. It's really funny about women wanting to, well, I can't.
Is this a dirty joke?
No, it's not dirty at all.
Okay.
This is Disney.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Well, this time, 1969 to 73,
yeah.
was such a pivotal time particularly for women
I
who
know.
were, yeah, well.
If you remember, I did a film called A Walk on the Moon,
Yes.
which covered, 69 was the greatest year ever with the lunar landing and Woodstock, so, and having teenagers at that time must have been really something for women because the generation gap never got wider.
No.
Than that moment in time.
That's right. What is it that you sort of drew on in yourself to play her? Because you'd already found yourself by the time you did this.
Well, Penny is of course she's an historic figure and such a role model for a generation of women and regal and so many adjectives that it would be accurate to say that are positive about her. But I think one thing that I was safe to say we had in common was that we were both daddy's girls that made good. You know what I mean? People tended to forget that she was born into horse breeding business and that she wasn't vainglorious and doing this ill-advisedly. She actually was following. It's like instead of having a career at this, she had one intense hunch,
Yeah, pretty good one.
She did track the genealogy of the horses, and it wasn't without information and wisdom on the subject that she took this leap,
Sham broke the Derby record, too. He ran the second fastest Derby. He ran the second fastest Preakness ever.
Any comment, Penny?
Well, I'd have to say I agree completely with Mr. Martin. His horse did run the second fastest ever.
Well, one of the things Randall said about you was that one of the reasons he wanted to cast you is you had that same direct quality, which may come from what you're just describing, the confidence that your father trusted you and
That's sweet.
was
I'll run with that. Thank you.
You can go pretty fast with it, too. I so admire, speaking of running, I so admire the trajectory of your career because you are so beautiful. It could have gone in another direction altogether. You must have had good advice and good counsel from...
I tried to, what do they say? Walk humbly with your God. There's a quote there somewhere. My grandmother was a Pentecostal preacher, so every so often, like Tourette's, I'll quote something. But I do, and I try not to bleed the piranha tank also of this business. And I like to have on duty, off duty, and I like to give it my all when I'm there and forget about it completely when I'm not. And I think that's healthy for me.
It's healthy for everybody, I think, to leave your work at home a little bit.
A little bit.
Am I right that the Little Romance was your first movie?
That was my first
13 years old.
Yes.
You from Paris?
Just outside La Garenne.
You live with your father. What does he do?
He sort of drives.
A truck?
No, a taxi.
You shouldn't be embarrassed. It's honest work.
Did you know who Laurence Olivier was?
Absolutely.
You did.
I did know. I'm one of the rare 13-year-olds who knew. At that time, anyway. We had a network. We had, 3 networks at that time? And that was it. 3 channels, period,
That's right.
I should say. And I think the 4th one in every city was PBS. Well, thank goodness for them, because they would show things like Olivier and Othello, or just these classical performances that there's no profit to be made in showing these necessarily,
right.
but there is a sense of history and culture, and I would get exposed to them, and lucky me, and lucky generation, frankly. So I did know who Olivier was, and I'd seen pretty much all of his movies,
Really?
strangely enough.
So you had learned a lot about him before. You must have learned something from him while you were working with him.
Wow. I guess what a pro, and what a gracious, encouraging person he was. And I think, of course, when you're working with children, and I know what I'm talking about now because I've been on both sides, it requires a certain noblesse oblige. You know, you really have to put yourself out in a way that you wouldn't with a more established, secure personality type. And for him to take the time to do that, you know, he had a son that was only about 3 years older than me at the time, and a daughter, I think, that was 2 years younger than me somewhere. So he was experienced with kids, and
Sure.
he was very patient with us.
Yeah, plus he was the greatest actor in the world.
In the world.
One quick question, I think we're almost done, but I wonder, when you were nominated for an Oscar for Unfaithful, were you anticipating that might happen? Had you heard the rumble and that sort of thing?
No, it's such a no.
Really?
In a word, no. The parallel for me in answering your question, very poignant, is that my father didn't get to live to see that moment. But he saw the performance and he said, "Hey, you rang the bell there, darling." And it was very sweet because that's a reference of being on the carousel, and if you get enough rings, then you get to ring the bell. And a horsey thing. But like Penny, with her father, he didn't get to see the fruition of his investment in her and Secretariat and the legacy that she lives up to. So, you know, it's kind of bittersweet.
It is. It's very make me cry.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
I